to pay very close attention to detail. Okay, now I know a lot of us aren't very detailed, made to pay attention to details. Okay, but you have to be. So pay attention and look very closely at the little things that I'm going to tell you. Okay, so we're talking about congruent triangles. So two triangles that equal the same. Everything about them is the same. They're the same shape. They're the same size. They are congruent. So there are actually six parts in order for you to tell if two triangles are congruent. Okay? In two polygons, a polygon is what? I didn't spell that right. Polygons. My bad. That's a Polygons. Okay? In two polygons, which a polygon is any space, right? A triangle is a polygon. A quadrilateral is a polygon. A pentagon, a hexagon, a heptagon, an octagon, a nonagon, a decagon. All the gons are polygons, okay? So in order to show that they're congruent, all of the parts of one polygon have to be congruent to all parts of other polygon. All parts of other polygon. Sorry, I didn't leave enough space. In two polygons, all of the parts of one polygon have to be congruent to all the parts of the other polygons. What this means is that they have corresponding angles and sides. Corresponding means the same. Okay, so when we're looking at this example right here, we have two triangles, and we want to show that they are congruent. Jacoby, wake up. We want to show that they're congruent. Do you see? I call these rainbows and dashes. So angle A, how many rainbows does angle A have? 2. So it's congruent to the angle over here that has 2 rainbows, which is H. How many rainbows does B have? 1. So it's congruent to the one that has 1 rainbow, which is J. This has 3 rainbows, so it's congruent to K. Okay, that's not bad. Now, that was all the angles. So you have to prove 3 angles and 3 sides. So now we're going to talk about our sides. So this one starts with AB. So you go from A to B, which has 1 dash. But wherever you start here, you have to start on the other one. So if we start at A with 2 rainbows and go to B that has 1 rainbow, then I have to start wherever there's 2 over here, which is H, to J. Now, third period was like, well, why can't you start with B and go to A? You can. But if you start at B and go to A, then when you start the other one, you have to start at J and go to H. Okay, so it doesn't matter where you start, you just have to be consistent. So B to C has how many dashes? 2. So we're going to 2 over here, which is this. But if they started at B that has 1 rainbow, we have to start at J that has 1 rainbow. Okay. AC. How many dashes does AC have? 3. So we have to start where there's 3. They started with A, which is 2 rainbows. So we have to start at H, which has 2. Okay. Do y'all see how detail-oriented it is? Okay. So then there's 3 angles. And you've written 3 sides, and then there's this thing called the congruence statement. It's like your final statement. It's saying this triangle is congruent to this triangle. So they started with ABC. So they went from 2 rainbows to 1, 2, 3. So they went from 2 to 1 to 3. A to B to C. So over here, we have to go in that same order. Which one has 2? H, then 1, which is J, then K, which is 3. So you don't have to use this order, but whatever you start with, you have to finish with. For example, let's say triangle. Let's go ACB. ACB is congruent to triangle Well, let's look at the order I went in. I went 2, 3, 1. So now I have to go 2, 3, 1, which is H, K, J. Do you see? So it doesn't matter like your order as long as you're consistent. Okay, so on number 1, there's 7 things we have to write. How many angles? 3. 3 angles. How many sides? 3. And then 1 congruent statement. So let's start with your angles. Ozzy, where do you want to start? What angle?
A.
Okay, angle A. What's angle A congruent to?
J.
Angle J. Sydney, what angle you want to go to next? Okay, angle B. Class, what's B congruent to? K, because they both have 2 rainbows. Blake, what's left? C, which is congruent to L. Asia, what side you want to do first? Which side? Okay, she wants to do BA first. BA is congruent to, well, B has 2, A has 1. So it has to be congruent to what side? KJ, 2 to 1. I always like to put a little dot beside the side that I've covered so I know where to go next. Okay, Brayden, what side do you want to do next?
BC.
BC is congruent to, well, that's 2 to 3, so what's it congruent to? KL. And then what's the only side we have left on this triangle? Did I hear somebody say CA? Can I say CA or AC? Yes. Let's say CA. Well, CA goes from 3 to 1, so it's congruent to LJ. So overall, we got 3 angles, we have 3 sides. Triangle. Grant, what do you want to call this triangle? So original. ABC is congruent to triangle ABC, JKL. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You want to know what I do to try to name triangles? I try to go in the order that makes a word. Like last year. Last year we had 2 triangles, and this was like not intentional at all. And we named them, and the names were THS is congruent to WAR. I just try to make it. I have to make it fun sometimes. THS is congruent to war. Okay, so here's number 2. Here's the thing with number 2. You can't just say angle C, because angle C is made up of how many angles? 2. So do you remember when we used to have to label angles using 3 points? Do you remember, like, if this is angle JKL, you had to call it angle JKL? We're going to have to do that. You only have to do this when an angle is made up of 2 or more angles. Like A and D, I can just say A is congruent to D, right? So let's make our little chart. You don't have to make this chart. I just like organization. So I would go ahead and get A out of the way because it's the easiest. Angle A is congruent to D because they both have a rainbow. Okay, now look at this triangle by itself. You can't just say angle B. This triangle has 2 rainbows right here on this angle. But I have to name it angle A, B, C. I have to go in the middle wherever I'm talking about the angle. So it goes angle ABC is congruent to angle. So we went 1, 2, 3. So now cover this side. And what's the angle of 1, 2, 3 over here? DCB. Do you see it? Because I'm trying to get to the angle that has 2 rainbows. Because this one up here had 2 rainbows. Okay, so angle DCB. So it covered 1 rainbow, 2 rainbows. Now I have to name this angle because it has 3. How do I name this angle right here? A, C, B. Could I say BCA? Yeah. So let's use ACB is congruent to. So we went 1, 3, 2. So go 1, 3, 2 over here, Jacoby. Yes. 1, 3, 2. DBC. Because we're trying to get to the rainbow that has, or the angle that has 3 rainbows. So angle DBC. So that's where it gets a little difficult, is when the angles are kind of conjoined like that. So now we have sides. Will, what's the first side you want to use? What? A what? AB. All right, AB. That goes from 1 to 2. AB is congruent to what, class? Well, you have to start with the one that has 1. So AB is 1 to 2. So it's DC because it's 1 to 2. Okay. Madison, which one you want to do next? AC is congruent to, well, we went 1 to 3. So what's it congruent to? DB, 1 to 3. See, it's not necessarily hard. You just have to pay attention to little details. Now, what's the third side? Do you see this side right here? Isn't this side part of both of the triangles?
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were writing proofs and I would say like BC is congruent to BC and you had to tell me what theorem this was? What's the theorem that you always see yourself? Reflexive, because you see your reflection in the mirror, right? So BC is on both of these triangles. So your third one is BC is congruent to BC. Okay, it's the same thing. Use the same order. Hold on. So, when you're writing your congruent statement, London, how would you name this first triangle? There we go. They're getting some difference in there. ACB, cab, yeah. ACB is congruent to D. We went 1, 3, 2. So you have to go 1, 3, 2. DBC. Yes.
Okay, so you said that the BC is for BC.
Yes.
Okay, well you said you have to also do it for the rainbows.
Mm-hmm.
Well, CB, you start on C, which is 3 rainbows, but when you start on B, which is 3 rainbows too?
But together, don't these equal the same thing?
Yeah.
You'll see why in a little bit. This leads into something further. Presley. Yes, if you actually look to the back, that's all we're going to do with those right now. Okay? But if you look at the back, you also have to be able to tell what's congruent based on just the congruent statement. So if you look at triangle FGH, which is right here, FGH, how would I name this triangle with this one? FGH is congruent to FEI. Good. So now you can use this picture, but I want you to practice not using the picture. So right now we have these 2 triangles in a congruent statement. I need to know all 3 angles and all 3 sides based on just this. Here's the thing. They always go in order. So if it tells you FG, that's first and second, right? Well, FG, first and second, is congruent to first and second over here. So it's congruent to FE. Are you following me? Just the first 2. FG is the first 2 that they gave us. So look at the first 2 over here. FE. Okay, well next, GH. That's the second and third, right? So it's congruent to the second and third over here, which is EI. FH, first and last, is congruent to first and last, which is FI. Angles work the same way. H is the last angle. So it's congruent to the last angle over here, which is I. Thank you. Late reaction. G is in the middle. So it's congruent to E. Now we have a scenario of where this angle right here, it has more than one. so you have to use 3 to list it. Well, they went EFI, which is EFI. So they went middle, first, last. Middle, first, last. Do you see? EFI. So over here we have to go middle, first, last, which is GFH. All right, what I need you to do is I need you to do number 6. Nope. Do number 6. Do number 6. You can if you need. Oh, no. You can't. Not that chart. It doesn't go with it. You have to use just the statement. Those two. No, we didn't do on the front page. You can do it as we practice. All right, so on number 6, what was angle E equal to? FE was equal to? FE is congruent to? GH. EFI is congruent to? FI. FIE. Good. I hear y'all. IE. Good. Okay. Now, on this worksheet I just passed out, this is your homework. It's not as much as you would think. Class, let me rephrase. It is classwork, and if you don't finish it, then you need to do it at home, okay? So here's what it is. This is yours, London. I'm going to write on it real quick. These first 3, exactly what we just did. What? I'm not writing that much. These first 3 are what we just did. These 2 right here, 4 and 5, all you're doing is writing a congruent statement. What triangle is equal to what triangle? Or congruent, I'm sorry. What triangle is congruent to what triangle? That's it, okay? And then on 6 and 7, I want you to make rainbows and dashes on these using this statement. So B is congruent to M, so rainbow, rainbow.
So how would you do that?
Well, what's BD congruent to? Okay? All right, y'all work on this.
Wait,